Red Ronin claims to be a turn-based tactics game, but that title is disingenuous at best. Sure, the game is technically turn-based, but make no mistake, Red Ronin is without a doubt a puzzle game in the purest sense of the word. I'm highlighting that fact because if you go into the game with the wrong expectation, you're going to have a very bad time. Red Ronin's puzzles are incredibly brutal. I think I died more in Red Ronin over the span of 8 hours than I have in every other game released in the last decade combined. Luckily, Red Ronin throws you right back into the game within a nanosecond, so you can hop right back to failing miserably at it. Or at least, that's what I did. The thing about puzzle games is, I'm bad at them, and Red Ronin was not a kind and understanding sensei. Red Ronin's gameplay is not an exercise in creativity. Each room has a set answer for you to solve, and once you get the hang of swimming in its depths, it pushes you off a cliff around the midway point and tells you to learn to fly instead.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
Each level has you dashing a vengeful samurai named Red around maze-like rooms in an attempt to kill all the enemies and get to the exit. A single attack is enough to end you, and while samurai are masters of the blade, the concept of walking seems to be beyond this one. Red dashes the entire distance of any direction you move her, only stopping if she hits an object. Every level is a brain-melting challenge to be solved with that unique movement system, but Red has a few other tricks up her sleeve. By grabbing power-ups, she can freeze time for a turn, preventing her enemies from moving. She can also set up points on the map that shift her movement in another direction, and that allows you to set up combos. It feels really good when a plan comes together. Each enemy moves after you do too, and you really have to work out the proper solution with your limited use of power-ups, the movement system, and any number of traps and hazards. The level design is seriously masterclass. Every single puzzle in the game is incredibly clever, and if you actually solve it, you want to scream out Eureka due to the euphoria it invokes. It's not really a feeling I got to feel very often. I did actually beat the game, but I honestly kind of brute forced it. I didn't truly solve the puzzles. Basically, I memorized the right moves whenever I made the wrong one. I continually died over and over again while memorizing the puzzle one move at a time. You know how Tom Cruise is completely out of his league fighting a war in Edge of Tomorrow? He eventually succeeds because the day resets whenever he dies. That was me in Red Ronin, except I died a whole lot more. It was more or less a memory game for me. Most rooms have a single solution, or at least it seemed that way to me. Red Ronin does reward you for the effort though. The action looks fantastic. Whenever you manage to do what the game is asking of you, the game treats you to slick sword slashing animations, special effects, and nifty sounds. The game did a great job of making me look like a complete badass once I memorized enough of the right moves to beat a level. I'm definitely no ninja, but anyone watching would think I was a genius, assuming they only ever watched my last attempt. Red Ronin actually does a great job of making the game feel fast-paced, despite being a puzzle game. The movement feels swift, and the strikes lethal. The game really does nail the theme of exaggerated action scenes in samurai movies. Then, around the midway point of the game, it becomes one. The game just straight up adds real-time elements within the turn-based framework. You still follow all the same rules, but some of the game elements don't. You might have to dodge sniper bullets while solving the puzzle. Some levels have an abstract timer in the form of a sweeping security laser, and the bosses all function in real time. On one hand, it definitely catches you off guard and keeps the game from growing stale. On the other hand, it pulls the rug out from under you and relentlessly beats you with it. You spend half the game being allowed to ponder your moves as much as you want. The game doesn't train you for that kind of urgency, so it pretty much left me in a frantic mess darting all around the map while incoherently screaming.
Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jewish God! Help me, Allah! Ah! Help me, Tom Cruise!
The game doesn't change. Each level still retains the same high-quality, brain-melting nature. You just don't have the kind of time that you had before to deliberate. I haven't encountered a twist like that in a long time, and it's honestly kind of brilliant, and I loved it. The boss fights are great, and that's not really something you expect to hear about in a puzzle game. At the same time, it's definitely going to ruin it for people who wanted a comfy head scratcher. It's like booking a sauna, and then halfway through, the door opens up and a hungry lion charges in. Exciting to be sure, but not exactly what you signed up for. The game does feature a story, but don't expect anything award-worthy. But it's interesting enough for a puzzler. It ends on a very unsatisfying cliffhanger though, and is riddled with typos and spelling errors. In a game like Red Ronin, that doesn't bother me, although it does give the game an unpolished feel. What did bother me was the fact that the game liked to hang after finishing a stage. Each time it happened, I had to close it and start the game up again. I played on a Series X, so it was lightning fast to restart, but every time it happened, I lost progress and had to replay the level. The game loved to do it on particularly hard levels where I couldn't remember the solution, and after boss fights. At one point, I had to survive a gauntlet of enemies, then fight a boss, and it hanged, forcing me to replay all of it again. If looks could kill, my television would have been a pile of cinders. Some of those boss fights took me close to an hour because I suck, and I ended them with sweaty palms and high blood pressure, only to have to retry it again because of a technical failure.
Like 2 hours! 2 hours!
The achievements were also certainly bugged, since I acquired a few I know I didn't get, such as completing the game in 1 hour. I will take that as a peace offering for screwing me over so much, because never in my wildest dreams would I be able to get that achievement on my own. I really can't understate how great the level design is. Every puzzle uses the game's focused movement mechanics and power-ups in wonderfully cohesive ways. Solving each challenge feels great, and you're treated to great visuals and sound design through it all. The game is fairly short, unless you're as bad as I am. It would probably average around 4 to 6 hours for fans of the genre. That's not a lot of playtime, and it has no replay value, but Red Ronin is also inexpensive. The experience is a quality one as far as gameplay is concerned, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. The sloppy spelling and typos aren't a great look, but really the only thing holding the game back is the technical issues that I experienced, and those can hopefully be ironed out, although the real-time elements could prove divisive. Red Ronin might not be the turn-based tactical game that its main menu implies, but it is a great puzzle game with a popping soundtrack, nice visual effects, and stellar level design. The real-time elements are really interesting and unique, even if it introduces them with all the gentleness of a rampaging rhino. If the technical issues can be fixed, Red Ronin could certainly take a seat atop its throne of blood. I myself don't really buy puzzle video games. I'm exceptionally bad at them, and I rarely get enjoyment from solving them. Red Ronin is one of the rare ones that I did enjoy playing. The level design is just that good. I could appreciate it all and have fun memorizing the sequences required to solve each stage. That said, I'm not at all sad that it turned out to be a short game. It wouldn't have captivated me for much longer than it did. The real-time element was a sledgehammer to my knee, but it definitely made the game even more interesting. I do tend to look down on short games, but for $7.99, that's just not happening. You can't really beat that price. The technical issues were bad, however, and if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't have persevered if I wasn't reviewing the game. As interesting as the levels and boss fights were, the magic is lost after struggling to beat them and immediately having that victory snatched from me due to the game hanging. If those issues are widespread, or persist on platforms beyond the Series X, it will absolutely destroy the enjoyment of people playing it. To recap, the pros. The fantastic level design makes for a great brain-melting challenge. The soundtrack adds a lot to the experience with its upbeat, catchy rhythm. The game feels fast despite being a puzzle game with a slick emphasis of the samurai theme. The real-time elements and stellar boss fights are awesome and add a nice twist to the game. And Red Ronin has a very cheap price. The cons. The game paints itself as a turn-based tactics game. It's not. It's very much a puzzle game. The writing is chock full of errors and typos. I experienced numerous hangs on the Series X that forced me to lose progress. The game is fairly short at around 4 to 6 hours. The real-time elements are added with no warning and leaves you scrambling to adjust. Who would like this game? People who enjoy brain-busting challenges. If you like solving puzzles under pressure. If you enjoy the general feel and theme of games like Hotline Miami, Katana Zero, and Party Hard. You want a short but intense experience. Who wouldn't like this game? People who enjoy puzzle games because they don't rely on reflexes. Red Ronin, halfway through the game, does. People looking for a tactics game. If you enjoy games on easy. If you want an engaging story. And all of that is Red Ronin. Thanks for watching my review. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful and informative, please consider liking and subscribing because it goes a long way toward helping my visibility. I've also left a few links down in the description below. One on my website where you can find the bulk of my written content, and a link to my Ko-fi page if you feel like tossing in a donation. But in any case, thanks for watching, and until next time.